Welcome back to the garden. Let's talk dirt. All right, today we're going to be talking about how to know how to sow your seeds so that you can have good success depending on the size of the seed without really thinking too much about other things besides maybe what season you should be sowing these seeds. So once you decide what season you should be growing these plants, the next thing that's going to be important is how deep you plant them and how often you're going to need to water these seeds and how fast you can expect them to start growing vigorously for you. So we're going to start with some large seeds right here. These are Costata Romanesco, which is a variety of zucchini. You can see these big fat seeds right here. These seeds should stay viable for a good amount of time, and they should be really easy to grow. You're going to need to give these seeds a lot of space, and they're going to grow very quickly because they have a lot of energy stored away in the seed. Their very first leaves are going to be very large. They're going to quickly grow roots, and these are going to get going right away for you. So make sure you plant these about a ½ inch into the soil, a little bit more even, and they're going to be fine. They're going to pop right up, get plenty of energy to reach up towards the light, and you're going to have nice healthy seed starts. All right, now let's go into some medium-sized seeds. I've got some onion seeds right here. I've got some dill seeds right here. So these ones, you're only going to go like a ½ inch into the soil, and they're not going to be able to hold as much water as these large squash seeds, so you're going to need to water them a little bit more frequently. Additionally, these smaller seeds are probably going to grow a little bit slower to start because they're going to actually have to establish root systems and leaves that are sizable in order to actually get going. Since there's so much energy in these seeds, they quickly establish root systems and large seed leaves. So in a couple of weeks, you're going to have nice big plants out of these started, and these ones are just going to be little babies still, but that's fine. They will grow eventually. So make sure you keep those more moist, keep them monitored. They're going to take a little longer, and you don't plant them as deep. All right, now if you find yourself with some teeny tiny seeds that are like grains of sand, and even seeds like lettuce seeds that are a little bit smaller than dill, you're going to need to not plant those too deep, because if you plant them too deep, they're going to struggle to make it out of the soil. They do not have the capacity, they do not have the energy within that tiny little seed stored to get a healthy root and leaf system established so that they can easily start photosynthesizing and creating their own energy to grow. Because of this, you're going to want to just barely put them on the surface of the soil and maybe sprinkle some more dirt over them, or rake a little bit of soil away, sprinkle the seeds in and then rake it back over, or just dig a very not too deep furrow, just a shallow little furrow that you can plant them into, because you don't want to cover them with too much soil. Keep these seeds moist. They're going to need a lot of water on the surface of the soil. You don't need to water them deeply in, but just water them on the surface of the soil until they start sprouting. And then once they get a few leaves, then you can start taking the watering back to whatever you need in your area, every 2 days, every 3 days, a couple times a week, whatever. So remember, small seeds, really tiny grains of sand sized seeds, you're going to keep those near the surface of the soil, water them frequently. Medium-sized seeds can go ½ inch into the soil, water them pretty frequently. And the largest seeds, you're going to need to plant them the deepest, give them the most space, and they're going to come up the easiest for you and the quickest, and those plants are going to get established within a few weeks. You're going to have nice like cup-sized plants that you can transplant out, whereas a really small seed is still going to be a tiny little plant in a couple weeks. It doesn't mean you're growing it wrong. It's just what small seeds do. All right, and one more thing, like I was mentioning earlier, large seeds tend to last longer in storage, whereas smaller seeds will lose viability after only a couple of years sometimes. So if you have an old pack of seeds, you might want to check to see if it's still viable. And if you're not getting good germination, it's not because you have bad soil or you're not a good gardener or anything. It's probably because the seeds are old and they're just not as viable. And you want good, healthy, viable seeds, because even if you get some poor germination off those not very healthy seeds, you might just end up with some weak plants. So make sure that you're using your seed stock frequently, and you can even Google what are the time lengths that certain seeds will go bad. Like for instance, carrot seeds go bad extremely fast, and you can start losing viability after 1 to 2 years. Whereas they found beans and other squash seeds like that in storage, like in clay pots when they excavate a tomb or something, and the seeds are still viable and they sprouted it. So you can look that up. There's like the Adzuki cave bean and a few other interesting things that they've gotten ancient beans, ancient squash, and sprouted them, and they're still growing, and brought these heirloom varieties back into the zeitgeist. All right, so I hope that helped you a little bit on how you're gonna plant your seeds in order to have some success this year, and happy growing.